You used to know what progress looked like. You finished a course, you knew more. You got a role, you reached the next level. You added experience, you felt yourself moving. There was a clear measurement. You worked on it, it worked for you. Now you're doing exactly the same thing, the same proof, the same effort. You finish a project, you look at it, and you don't know if it counts. So you start measuring harder, more comparisons, more checks. How many courses did I take this year? How many projects are in my portfolio? Why did someone else move ahead and I didn't? But what if the problem isn't the answers? What if the problem is the questions themselves? Because there are fields that change slowly, not with an announcement, not with a notice, until the metric that used to work stops describing what actually matters. Maybe you are progressing, just not in the direction anyone is looking at right now. And that's not the same problem as not progressing. It's much more subtle.
It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't an announcement. There wasn't a moment when someone changed the rules. It moved slowly, so slowly you didn't notice. There used to be a clear measurement. You got a raise, you progressed. You got a role, you moved up a level. You added a line to your resume, you became stronger. There was alignment between what you did and what counted. Today, you finish a course, add a project, upgrade a tool, and send an application. And you don't really know if it made you stronger or just kept you in the game. The old tools didn't disappear, they just stopped differentiating. Not because they were wrong, because the field changed. Knowledge used to be less accessible. Fewer people could learn quickly. Fewer people could produce at the same pace, so the person who added more stood out. Today, adding is the baseline, not because it has no value, because it's available to everyone. And when something is available to everyone, it stops creating distance. So you keep accumulating, not out of weakness, not out of blindness, out of loyalty to rules that worked for years. Except those rules were not written for this reality.
Before we begin, if you value quiet, thoughtful content like this, subscribing helps this channel grow and makes it possible to keep creating videos without noise or hype. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin.
You feel like something isn't translating, so you assume the problem is technical. Maybe you need to switch platforms, maybe choose a different niche, maybe learn an entirely new field. But pay attention to what actually happens. You improve the way you present yourself, rewrite your profile, sharpen the wording, add another project, and sometimes nothing happens. Not because the profile isn't good, not because the project lacks quality, but because what determines what counts isn't inside the tool at all. It lives in the framework that decides what deserves attention. So maybe the question isn't, what do I need to improve? But according to what logic am I being evaluated right now? Think of someone you know, not necessarily more talented than you, not necessarily more experienced, but it's immediately clear what they do. You can explain them in one sentence. Now think of someone else, smart, talented, with a lot of experience. But when someone asks, what exactly do they do? You have to explain. The difference between them doesn't start with quantity, it starts with distinction. There was a time when distinction came from accumulation. If you knew more, you stood out. If you mastered a tool others didn't, you advanced. If you published, you were taken seriously. Because the old game was designed for a reality where knowing more made you rarer, and rarity created advantage. Today, almost everyone has access. You can learn fast, produce fast, distribute fast. The game changed, not because someone announced it, because reality changed. And the game you're still playing was built for a different reality. When everyone accumulates at a similar pace, accumulation becomes the baseline. It doesn't differentiate. So where does the gap come from? Not from how much you have, from how you're positioned within what already exists. If someone is looking for a specific solution and your name comes up immediately, your accumulation becomes visible.
If they have to think too hard, your accumulation stays in the background. That's the shift. The field no longer asks, how much did you add? It asks, when I need something specific, are you immediately clear to me?
If this feels familiar so far, not as information, but as something you've been dealing with, we keep a growing collection of prompts, tools, and simple frameworks designed to help you think more clearly, start more easily, and work better in this environment. We add to it over time. Nothing overwhelming, just practical resources you can return to when you need them. If you want access, you will find it in the description. Now, let's continue.
Someone is looking for help with marketing. They open LinkedIn, scroll through 10 profiles, all with experience, all with projects, all with recommendations. They stop on one, not because the background is longer, because within a few seconds it's clear what this person does, for whom, and why it's relevant right now. The others aren't less talented, they're just less clear for that moment. The same thing happens with content. Two creators, same topic, same production quality. One feels like they're speaking directly to you. The other feels like they're speaking to everyone. The first one sticks. The second gets consumed and forgotten. Not because of depth, not because of quality, because of focus inside a live question. And it happens at work too. A meeting, 10 opinions. One person says a single sentence that hits exactly what the room is struggling with. Everyone remembers them. Someone else adds smart points, precise, thoughtful. They're appreciated. But people don't return to them. Not because they're less capable, because they weren't positioned inside the moment. When you sit on a question someone is already asking, your knowledge becomes a solution. When you don't, your knowledge stays general. And in a field where everyone has general knowledge, general doesn't create advantage. Your accumulation isn't worthless, it just isn't meeting a need in real time. And that's the difference between being good and being clear. Most people try to solve this through wording. Write a sharper bio, polish the description, add a more precise headline. But that's still thinking in terms of accumulation. The clarity that creates distinction doesn't start with describing yourself better. It starts with recognizing which question is already alive and where you are clear within it. Self-description asks, what am I? Positioning asks, when someone needs something specific, do I come up immediately? That's a completely different question, because it doesn't start with you. It starts with a moment. And that moment isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, but it decides. And when you begin to see through that question, the measurement changes. Not how much you added, but when what you have meets a real need. And that's the difference between being prepared and being relevant.
You're not lacking anything. The question is, who is actually looking for what you have?
If you made it this far, it means this topic matters to you. In the next video, we continue building on this with clearer understanding, practical perspective, and ideas you can actually use. Following the channel really helps us keep developing content like this and adding more resources over time. The next video continues from here. You can watch it now.
If everyone can accumulate, accumulation doesn't create advantage. If everyone can be good, being good doesn't create distinction. So when you feel like you're doing everything right and something still isn't landing, maybe it's not a problem of quantity. Maybe it's a question of address. Not whether you're enough, but whether you're clear to someone in the moment they need you. And that moment is exactly what we'll talk about next. Not how to improve, how to show up where people are already looking.